Hi everybody. So a couple years ago, might be even 5 years ago, I did a review of these two comics which I got from a Walmart. Now at the Walmart, I got a DC Giant, and then I also picked up I don't know, a pack of three Marvel comics. There's this comic, Avengers. There's Dazzler, and then there was Guardians of the Galaxy Annual by Donny Cates. And I remember reading this Avengers comic and thinking it was very boring and not very good. And I actually preferred the Dazzler comic, which was surprising to me because you think, okay, Avengers, the movies, as Namor on the cover looking kind of cool, You would think I would like this better. And also, I mean, it's more modern. Maybe this is a little dated. But I actually ended up liking this Dazzler comic more. And I'm going to actually review this comic. And I look online, and I'll go through the reviews online later, and I don't get how this comic can get good reviews, like 4 or 5-star reviews, because this comic was not very good. It's very boring. Now, this comic is by Jason Aaron, and I know some people like Jason Aaron, but this comic makes me skeptical of him. Now, first of all, this is a second printing, okay? So this is not the original cover, okay? This is actually a panel or a page, really, a full page spread from the comic. And you think, okay, is it in the middle of the comic? Maybe the Avengers are going to fight Namor? Well, we're going to find out. So the comic opens up with Ghost Rider, the new guy with the car. And they have a good page here, the artist. I mean, you may or may not like the art. I think the art is fine. I just think maybe the colors are a little muted. But other than that, it's good. Yeah, it's by Jason Aaron and David, I guess. Okay. So this is a cool looking headquarters, right? When they were living inside a dead celestial in the Arctic or the North Pole. Is that the Arctic? I think so, yeah. So he's nervous and he's gonna meet Captain America. I mean, the rendering here is pretty good, the lighting. And so it's a good setup, he's kind of the newbie joining the group, so you can like introduce a bunch of stuff, So that's kind of, would you say, classic storytelling? He's like Ghost Rider is acting as the reader, right, to introduce new people things. So this is issue 8, by the way. This is issue 8, or legacy number 698, and I think this is coming after the end of like a 7-issue story arc. I don't know why it would be 7 issues, 7-part series, anyways. Or this might be but it might also be the beginning of a new story arc, right? Like issue 1 of like the second story arc. So he's gonna train. So Captain America is gonna train Ghost Rider. Like, okay, he gets hit by that. That might hurt a lot. And you're like, okay, great. We're gonna get Ghost Rider versus Captain America. That could be an interesting fight. Captain America is very experienced while he's a newbie, although he has, magic flame powers. So you think he'd be stronger, but he lacks experience, right? You get this little tiny panel of them fighting. And like, what? Okay, next page, they're going to have the fight. But no, if you're smart enough, Thor is here, so they're going to go to a conversation with Thor. Or really a flashback. And it's a flashback, and Thor is just talking to Loki. And he's like, Loki, you're crazy. And Loki's like, no, I'm really awesome because I reunited the Avengers. I'm like, I should be rewarded, and the hero isn't as good as a good villain, whatever. And whatever Jason Aaron, whatever has other storylines where Loki is whatever important to multiverse, whatever, because he united the Avengers in the original comic in the 60s, whatever. But here you can just kind of see it's a conversation, and then he gets taken away by the Celestials, whatever. And then here's some exposition explain how they get this headquarters. I guess maybe it wasn't explained in previous issues. I mean, obviously I know now, and you probably all know now just from being aware of the series, but yeah. I mean, this panel is kind of cool because you can see how very vast the inside of the Celestial is. But again, here's another conversation, and then they go to the medical bay because She-Hulk is turning into the Mariko Tamaki Hulk. And then conversation. More conversations. And then there's like more conversations between Doctor Strange and Black Panther. It's like, why? It's just, and then they cut to Captain Marvel and Tony Stark. I mean, the art here is cool, you know, Blue Whale. But they're just talking. More talking. They're butting heads, maybe foreshadowing Civil War 2. Did that happen yet? Or did that already happen? I don't know. Maybe they're just disagreeing in general. Okay, so then finally you're like, okay, meanwhile, okay, good. Maybe there's finally some action. Okay, you see a boat. You see some Atlanteans. Okay, maybe some Namor stuff is going to happen. And you're like, okay, they get shot and you don't really see it. Okay, you know, you don't want to show violence, you know, okay. You know, that's okay. And then, like, the next page, they're back at the, what? They're back at the Avengers. What? But, okay. You're like, okay, that's fine. You know, maybe that was just a little setup. And then again, here they're just talking. Blah, blah, blah. And then, okay, well, I mean, this is cool, though. I mean, yeah. And then they're talking around the table, sitting down and talking. Then finally, we're going to get some action. But wait a minute. Look how many pages there are left in the comic. Things are not looking good for the reader. And you're like, what happened? Who's going to be the 7th member? Yeah, 7th member, 8th member, whatever. You know, I'm curious. Let me know. Actually, wait, I don't care. So then we cut back to where the Atlanteans were killed, and then they're being jerks, whatever, and then they're attacked by Namor. And you're like, I see this is the cover. Finally, this is the cover. And it's the last page of the issue. This is unbelievable. This is a joke. Of all the pages, you know, of all the pages in this comic to use as the cover, they used the last page. And you know why they used the last page? It's because the last page is the only page where action actually takes place. They can't use, well, I guess they could have used this, but I mean, that doesn't sell the comic. And also it's kind of a spoiler. They can't use this because it's too small. Well, they can't even use this page at all because it has panels on it. Like, there's no other action in the comic. I'm going to flip through the comic. There's a conversation of Ghost Rider and his younger brother, which, I mean, that's fine at the start of the comic because it's like, you know, it's a wholesome moment, you know, family moment, you know, he cares about somebody. And then then he has a conversation with Captain America. Conversation. Then it cuts to a conversation with Thor and Loki and the other Avengers. Although the settings changed, but it's still a conversation. Then Ghost Rider is narration about the headquarters. Then we have a conversation between Tony Stark and Black Panther. Then we have a conversation between She-Hulk and Doctor Strange. The conversation continues. And then we have a conversation between Doctor Strange and Black Panther. And then we have a conversation between Captain Marvel and Tony Stark next to water. At least the scenery is changing. Finally, we have something happening for a page. And then we cut back to more conversations between Black Panther and the Avengers. And then we have more conversation between the Avengers, except now they're sitting. How exciting. Sitting and talking. And then finally, there's an emergency. And they go to the emergency, but we don't get to see them in the emergency until the next issue. Like, do I want to read the next issue? Well, No, because what if it's like this issue? What if it's another filler issue? Okay, probably not. It's probably not going to be a filler issue, since this was the filler issue. Now, does this read better in the trade paperback? I mean, I guess. But comics aren't originally sold as trade paperbacks. They're originally sold as floppies. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, I get you write for the trade, but I mean, still, I mean, you also want to write for the floppy, you know? I mean, so yeah, I mean, and this cover, I don't even know, like, Namor is just kind of standing, floating here, solemnly looking at the camera / the viewer. I mean, at least this cover, he's actually doing something. Like, what? I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. Like, is this a portfolio piece? Or is this a portfolio piece? This is obviously a portfolio piece. I mean, this might not be. I mean, so I don't know. Like, I don't know why. Like, your goal is to get people to read your comic, to sell your comic. I mean, I would say this cover, this cover could sell your comic. Since, oh, Namor's getting shot at, he's tearing something apart, and there's like a kraken or a squid behind him, some giant creature behind him. And okay, maybe something exciting happens, and then nothing exciting happens in the comic. Like, the cover only happens on the last page of the comic, and then you're like, okay, next issue, you're gonna say, okay, next issue something exciting happens because it's Avengers versus Namor, right? And then the cover is this. What? This is, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Can somebody explain why people thought this comic was good? I'm going to show you guys the reviews, and you guys let me know what you guys think. By the way, I also go through the Nostalgia comic. First of all, it's by JR. The art is by JR, and it really does not look like his art nowadays. And the second thing is, look how vibrant the colors are. I mean, this is a little bit more muted. A lot of grays. I guess desaturated would be the phrase. I guess desaturation. A lot of desaturated colors, a lot of muted colors. And then, obviously the technology is different, and obviously they're going for more painted look. I don't know. And obviously this is like digital, I'm pretty sure, but whatever. Digital coloring, I mean. But here, I mean, just the panels I think are more dynamic. They're not always using a panel border. I mean, the powers are very interesting to look at. I mean, they're not just like flames. I mean, things are actually happening. I mean, here, Spider-Man is helping her. I mean, here she's talking to herself. How long does she talk to herself? Only a page. Only a page. And then they cut to the... I don't know. Okay, I don't know why the X-Men are here, but... Or I forget why the X-Men are here. Obviously, they sell the comic, but look. I mean, there's a lot of word balloons and narration, but at least something's happening. Something is happening. They're not just talking and walking or talking and sitting. So then another, I think a flashback. And then some more talking. But then I'm pretty sure there's like some dancing. And then look, there's some thugs. They just come in suddenly, abruptly. Okay, you might say, okay, this is forced, but I mean, it is a comic book about superheroes. So then she has to stop them. Okay, good. And then a breather, I guess. I don't know. Oh, this must be a flashback. This is still part of the flashback. But then look, they cut to Asgard. And then there's just like thugs. There's just like thugs doing stuff. Oh, and then the introduction of the bad guy. I mean, a lot of stuff happens in this comic, honestly. A lot of stuff happens. Beast. Okay. Daredevil. Is this... No, this is advertisement. Okay, I was gonna... And then and actually Enchantress shows up in the last like 2 pages, and then she's like defeated. That was kind of weird. Apparently the second issue expands on that. I mean, similar to this, similar to the Avengers comic, like the antagonist shows up at the end. But like unlike Avengers by Jason Aaron, like things actually happen in this comic. You know, there's some action, there is some character development. I mean, what is the character development that happens in here? Like, they establish Robbie Reyes is a newbie, as if we don't already know that. It establishes Captain America is like looks out for other people, as if we don't already know that. It establishes that Loki is prideful and full of himself, which we already know. It develops a subplot for She-Hulk, which ultimately got mixed reviews in my opinion. Maybe it developed a romance between Thor and She-Hulk, which that was also questionable. It establishes a rivalry between Captain Marvel and Tony Stark, which I don't know, may or may not. Did Civil War 2 happen yet? I don't know. Because like after Civil War 2, like these two still like work together. So I'm like, what? Anyways. And then I don't know. I honestly forget some of the dialogue. But there's some stuff going on with Black Panther and Doctor Strange. I don't know. I just very strongly dislike this comic, and now I'll show you guys the reviews. So, here's the reviews for Avengers 8. Volume 1 was actually issue 1 through 6, and then Volume 2 was issues 7 through 12, by the way. So here you can see it's 3.85 stars, which is almost 4 stars. And like people are just saying, like, Namor what? But Namor only appears at the end. And then, I mean, this issue wrapped up the major plot points, but how is it 4 stars? Like, that's not 4 stars. And then, I mean, it's setup. So here, this is a realistic score. Good segue to the next story arc. And 4 stars? I mean, what? Every comic is somebody's first comic, okay? You can't assume. Jason Aaron should not be assuming people have read his stories. Again, look, 4 stars, 95%. This was a pretty great issue. No, I hard disagree. Let's see what this was. This better not be a review that says this was like the best comic ever. Wow, this was so good. I wasn't a big fan. What? It was not that good. The comic was not that good. And then this person, what did they say? Enjoyable issue of Avengers. No, it was not enjoyable.